We've got an aumbry.
That's a new word to me.
Today's word is aumbry. Aumbry.
An aumbry is a tabernacle in the wall.
Okay.
Okay?
Now,
So, look.
now I'm remembering this church. You've got this absolutely staggering
Pulpit. We'll get onto that. Here's the aumbry.
Okay.
So, aumbry, sanctuary lamp, indicating that the reserved sacrament is, that the sacrament's present. Now, this is a crucifix that is not original. Behind, you've got these two panels that are domed. And so, in keeping with many other churches of a similar era, can imagine there would have been the Ten Commandments,
And the Lord's
Creed,
Prayer.
the Lord's Prayer, that sort of thing. The church was completely renovated in 1952, having experienced some bomb damage, not direct hits, but all the windows were blown out, etc., etc. And so the church was restored in 52, and I imagine that they were a casualty of that. So we have these empty panels. I was aware of this crucifix knocking around in one of my previous parishes that was just up in the gallery, not being used.
Okay.
So, and we borrowed it for Lent, and we just haven't quite got round to giving it back yet. But I'm not in a hurry. I quite like it. I think
That's how things work.
I think it's in keeping.
We've got St. George in the window.
That is not St. George. So here,
it's Michael.
It's Michael. So this is where we're where we're confusing you. You would have thought that if a church was called St. George the Martyr, that they would give George the Dragon.
Yeah.
At least you would think, right?
Yeah.
And you would think that they probably wouldn't confuse it by putting St. Michael the other side. So St. George is in the left-hand panel.
Oh, so that is St. George on the other side.
Yeah.
Yep.
At George's right foot, left as we're looking, below that is a crest of the Fishmongers Company. As you know, Fishmongers Hall is just the other side of the bridge. The Fishmongers had quite a stake in St. George's and actually owned a number of the pews in the medieval church. When this church was built, there was a dispute between the Fishmongers and the parish council because the Fishmongers insisted that their allocated pews were in exactly the same position as they were in the former church, and it was pointed out to them that this wasn't possible because that was beyond the external wall of the church.
Okay.
They didn't accept that as a satisfactory or plausible reason.
I fear there's no resolution to
Well, I don't know, and I'm not aware of any live connections with the Fishmongers, but the fact that they feature in a window that was put in the 50s suggests to me that there is quite a recent connection with the Fishmongers, because we have connections with all sorts of other livery companies as well that are depicted in plaster up at a high level. So if we keep going along the bottom of the windows, you've got the old crest of Southwark, the old Southwark borough crest. You see that on a number of buildings, around Southwark, and I can tell you 3 of them.
Okay.
I can do 3.
That's good.
So we've got St. Mary's,
Yep.
St. Mary Overy, the cathedral, St. Mary Newington, St. George the Martyr, and one other, our symbol. It's a strange symbol that looks almost sort of semi-Masonic, but it's known as the Southwark Cross. And the Southwark Cross latterly became known as the bridge mark. So that you've got this sort of X with a circle and then a cross.
That does look Masonic, doesn't it? That does.
So,
well,
that's known as the Southwark Cross. That featured in the medieval church and was seen by somebody working for the Bridge House Estate, or the Bridge Trust, who, as you know, look after a number of London's bridges. I'm not going to say they nicked it, but they...
Because that sort of thing never happens.
But they certainly borrowed it. That symbol has come now to be known as the bridge mark. And if you go over Tower Bridge, if you go over London Bridge, if you go over Southwark Bridge, if you go over Waterloo Bridge, you'll see that mark in quite prominent locations on the bridge.
It's a good logo, isn't it? It's a good shape.
It's on the
yeah.
front of my house. If you go round Southwark, you will see it all over the place. It's also speculated that this wasn't originally a cross. It wasn't designed to be the Southwark Cross. It was simply an architect's mark. In the bottom right-hand corner of the central panel, I've no idea. But in the bottom, have you any idea?
The bottom right.
The bottom right.
The blue thing. No idea at all. No. But the bottom right looks like the cross of St George.
Well, it is the cross of St. George.
With a little sword in there.
With the sword. Whose sword is that? It's also up there. It is St. Paul's sword. Well, it's not St. Paul's sword, it's the sword by which St. Paul died. So that is the shield of the City of London. So the City of London is the George Cross with the sword of St. Paul. And the City of London are one of our patrons here.
Oh,
so we are a city church.
So that was one of the things I was going to answer, because you're so close to the city.
Yeah.
But do you actually get any of the benefit of that?
None of the benefit.
No,
some of the
no
association.
Cash.
No
association,
cash.
no cash.
Some of the association, but they are, Hi.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Take care.
And then you've got this kind of amazing ceiling.
We've got a ceiling by a guy called Basil Champney, and the ceiling dates from the 1890s, so it doesn't belong to the original building.
Do we know what was there on the original building?
There was plaster work that was much simpler, but quite beautiful, and there are some etchings still of some of the features. And the gallery up there had another tier at the back as well, so flanking the organ there would have been another tier up there. Yeah.
So you're going to tell me about this?
The pulpit.
Staggering pulpit.
Again, there's stories about once upon a time this being the tallest pulpit in London. I think that's highly unlikely. I've seen some really tall pulpits.
Yeah. And who's playing my pulpit's bigger than yours?
Yeah, I know, I know, right? This used to be triple decker, so there was a desk for a reader, and there was a desk for a clerk, and then there was
okay. So I heard about triple, but I just assumed that just meant it was really tall. It means that there was 3 places from which to preach from.
3 places from which to conduct your business.
So do you use this now?
So I've used it on occasions. I used it at Christmas. It's fairly hairy because it's got this curve. You can. You'll see what I mean when you go up. It gets the wobbles on the turn.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
There's a bit of movement here.
But it's not very fair on. I mean, unlike a lot of churches, we have people who sit in the front pews, and to sit here.
Yeah, you're.
It's a bit like that, and I sort of feel like that's a bit unfair.
You're very connected with the galleries.
You're very connected with the galleries.
Yes.
And people sitting in the galleries can see almost nothing. You can't see down here. You can't see the altar. You can't see it much, but you can see the preacher. So preaching was obviously a big deal at the point when they built this.
Yeah, I quite like it.
Pulpit.
If it were me,
you'd be up there every Sunday, would you? There's something to be said. There is a lot to be said for preaching from a pulpit. I'm a big fan of preaching from the pulpit. I reckon these are the best seats in the place. You're slightly up. There's a lovely curve here. You've got a nice big back to it. They've been painted this horrible brown. It's not a nice brown. It's a horrible brown. And where the paint's been rubbed away, it reveals some quite nice wood.
Nice wood.
It's not a massively flexible space.
But is that what you want?
So aesthetics are really important, and you want to walk into a church and have a sense that you're in a church. You're in a sacred place that has a particular purpose. You don't, to my mind, you don't want to walk into a church and feel like you're in a generic community hall. Generic community halls exist and they're great, but churches do something else.
Yeah.
And you walk into a church, and a church that does this well will make you stop and usher in a moment of reflection, I think. Invite you to be reflective, invite you to be quiet.
I think that's absolutely true. There's so many things that direct you to the deep history, the memorials around the wall, of which you have many.
Yeah.
And then
only one deeply problematic one, but yeah.
Only one? Sure.
Yeah, only one.
Go on,
that
show
I'm
me the
aware
deeply
of.
problematic one. Robert McGee, late proprietor of the Retreat, Hampstead Coxey Plantations in Jamaica. Oh, okay. So a slave owner.
Yeah.
It's fashionable today to view slave owners as morally abhorrent. But if you look at it from the point of view of the people in 1815 when this slab was put in place, it was still just as abhorrent. No one could pretend by this stage that the moral question wasn't live and the answer obvious. That doesn't mean you take down monuments like this. You use them, as Father Ben does, to draw attention to the issue.
There's a nice story that somebody uncovered. Wealthy Americans were coming to London with their slaves. They were bringing their slaves on their trips, to London. Slavery was abolished here, but we still recognised the Americans' right to own slaves, even though
they didn't become free as they walked across the threshold.
No, but there was a way for them to become free, and the way that we would recognise them as free if they were baptised. And so there are a couple of stories of African American slaves slipping the attention of their owner and coming to St George's and getting baptised here. Yeah.
That's a great story.
The motivating case was Somerset versus Stuart way back in 1772, when James Somerset escaped his visiting owner and sought sanctuary in St Andrews, Holborn. The basis of that successful case wasn't that slavery was abolished, but rather that in British common law it was never legal. Similar cases followed in Southwark. Links in the description.
You can go up the tower if you want to go up the tower, yeah.
I mean,
how far up do you want to go?
How far up can you take me?
All the way. In this? Okay. Well, I might leave you to do the last leg by yourself.
Okay. Hang on. No, let me get distracted by this.
Oh yeah. Okay. This is a water cistern. So dating from 1738. So purchased by the church wardens who are listed here. 2 years after the church was built. It didn't have this lid. This lid is a repurposed door, painted in a horrendous colour.
It doesn't quite live up to the thing beneath, does it?
It doesn't. And so this would have been in the porch of the church and was filled by the Thamesmen who supplied us with water. Yeah. But Thames water, bit grimy,
good,
full
healthy,
of sewage.
Beautiful, healthy Thames water.
Come and left to stagnate in a big lead tank. So,
Don't drink the water.
But it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And St George is here in the middle. But they are.
This just sort of betrays something historically. That means that.
Should I turn it?
Yeah, that's lovely. It betrays something historically. That things were a bit different in the past. The church warden almost had a role as a policeman.
Yeah. So this is 1732 here.
Yeah.
And this is 1800.
Can I feel how heavy they are? I mean, if you hit
can
someone
do
with
some
that,
business
that's the
with
end.
that, can't you? You can do some business.
Yeah.
You can keep order. You can keep order with this, can't you?
Yeah. Never been tempted.
Yeah, never been. Well, I've been tempted. Of course, I've been tempted. It's a remarkable legacy. Yeah. Right. Shall we ascend?
Okay.
First stop, Bell Tower. What I always find remarkable in these places is the effort that's gone into recording the achievements.
Me too. And the thing is, bell ringers speaking to other bell ringers.
Yeah.
Because no one else ever comes to me.
No, it's like their own.
It's bell ringers and me.
It's like a historical WhatsApp group, isn't it? I like this. We've got this great little mechanism here.
I saw one of these at
You've seen one, have you?
I've seen one similar, but not. You couldn't adjust it like this at St Luke's in Charlton.
So it enables you...
There must be a clapper in
Yeah.
addition to that's affixed to the bell somehow. Because what they have there, all the bells are hung dead, so they don't swing anymore.
Right, okay.
And part of the reason for that was that the tower was going to fall down. Interesting. They must.
There we go.
That's proper noise.
There we go.
Lights off.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, all
We
clear.
won't turn it off upstairs.
Yeah,
Tell me when you're through.
I'm through, all good. So that just moves up and down. Can you see that clapper there?
Yeah, and it means, actually, yes. Do that again, because it means that it's just below, if you loosen it, it's just below the line of the swing of the bell, so you can do both. I've not seen that before. Wow.
It's great, isn't it?
Wow.
So here we've got a mechanism for raising and lowering the chandelier.
Oh, goodness. I mean, you have to plan ahead.
I don't know how it works, so I'm not going to... We'll go out this side.
Okay.
Some kind of bird of prey would have done
bird
that.
of prey, absolutely. Oh, wow. Look, you see, this is what we're talking about.
You can see 2 of the 4 clock faces here.
Yes.
On the left-hand side, you've got an illuminated clock face, and on the right-hand side, facing east, is just a black clock face. 3 sides are illuminated,
Yeah.
and 1 side isn't. And the story goes that when funds were being raised locally for the building of the clock tower and the putting in of the clock, the people of Bermondsey didn't give any money.
I've got it.
And so they don't get to see the
They don't get
time
to see
at
the
night.
time.
If it is the case that they didn't get an illuminated clock face because they didn't give any money, I would speculate that the reason they didn't give any money is because the people of Bermondsey had no money to give to fancy clocks on church towers.
Possible, yeah.
So you can just see up to the cathedral.
He can.
He can, yeah.
Wow. The way the city has changed, obviously there's many more skyscrapers,
Yeah,
and I guess is that the Chelsea or is that Elephant and Castle over there?
that's
With all the-
elephant, yeah.
And but because the river bends, you see
Yeah.
things, and it's got so many new.
So we've got
centres.
Waterloo's over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chelsea is over there.
Oh,
Elephant and Castle.
you're making me want to go up higher.
Yeah, we can go up there.
This is real.
I'm going to stop here.
But it's
you're
okay
welcome.
for me to go up?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna.
This is as far as I've ever been. So I'll take
the
the
I'm gonna
clock's
take
up
the
there.
risk for my public.
So you know it's okay because the guy goes up to change the time on the clock twice a year. So
Now, dear viewer, I have a particular reason for wanting to climb this tower.
Can I keep going up?
yeah, I mean I guess so.
I wonder if I should have noticed this collapsible ladder. Because of the particular location of Borough, at the bend in the river, you can see all the way up to London Bridge and round the corner to Westminster and Chelsea beyond. This means it was reputed to be the viewing site for a number of aerial views of London before the days of hot air balloons, helicopters and planes. In particular, Anton van den Vindegaard surveyed at least part of his plan from this site. But I think it's completely plausible that other views of London, famous views, were at least partly composed from this site.
But you need to be a thinner man than me to get through this gap.
But is it fanciful of me
to think that as you look at this view of the Shard and the NatWest Tower, you just get a glimpse of what it must have been like all that time ago to look at old London.
That was real.
Do it on a cooler day next time.
Oh no.